G'day there folks, I'm Beanie, you're watching Beanie Draws, and in this video I'm going to be taking this illustration and I am going to be going over it in fine liner. Now for those of you who are interested in what pen I'm using, I'm going to be using a Unipin 5-piece drawing set. I don't know where you can get this wherever you live in other countries, but I found it, you can probably find it in art stores or stationery stores. I'm not sure if Unipin is Australian exclusive. That's the model number. Yeah, there you go. It says pin 200. Pin 200, 5-piece. If you're looking for it online, that's probably where you're going to find it. I should put a link. I should get like a brand deal with somebody and put a link so I can get a bit of the cut from anything you buy from other brands, but worry about that another time. I think a fair bit of this is going to be time-lapsed, because there's not much I can teach, because it's just going to be tracing. But for the moment, what I'm going to be doing is going over the whole lot of it in a 0.1 mil pen, if it'll even work, because sometimes they fade it a little bit. I mean, it says waterproof and fade-proof, but the actual pen itself, if you don't look after them or if it's in the wrong sort of environment, that that ink nib can get a little bit dry. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like over these bits thicker, those bits thicker, and then like over these bits a bit thinner. And yeah, so there we go. So I'm going to start by going over the whole thing in fine liner, and hopefully I don't mess it up. And naturally, I'll probably be going over the whole thing very slowly to start off with until because you might be able to see how shaky my fingers are. Good old nerves in trying to get an illustration looking good for the rest of the world. But once I get into my zone, then you'll see me speed up and go whoosh, 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 and all that. What I'm doing around here is barely even touching the page with the nib. I'm basically just dragging the felt against the paper, and that gives you a very thin line compared to these lines. And I'll be doing that like, around here and around there. You just like, put a very minor amount of pressure on your page, and that will give you your thin lines. Like if I go like that, see how it's a very fine line. Fine liners obviously, but yeah. Put down the pressure harder for thick lines, and then like very light pressure for light lines. Might draw a little angry frown on T-Rex's brow thing. What would you call that? Just brow bit of nubbly bits? I call them nubbly bits. Then just put some of those nubbly bit scale thingamajiggies in there. See, I put a little, very light pressure there. Light pressure means light details. Harder pressure means hard, solid details. Well, made that vein extra wiggly. Didn't actually want it to be that wiggly, but it's there now. I mean, I could go over it with correction fluid or correction tape, but after one of my more recent videos that I've recorded, I can't remember if it's out now though, that the correction fluid tape, whatever, just kind of goes and makes things even more of a hassle. These are all lines I'm putting in there. Just those little details that you see inside the T-Rex's mouth sometimes. Even though this is a cartoon, I still like putting in detail. Some little... I don't... What do cartoonists call these lines? They're not cross-hatching lines as such. They're just little lines that you just kind of put in there for a little bit of a, like, you know, wiggle, I guess. Just gonna put some of these things around his mouth, keeping the pressure as light as I can on the pen. And as you can see, I'm not really keeping to the original pencil marks. You don't have to keep exactly to the pencil marks. Just, you know, if they're scales, just kind of keep it close to, but it doesn't have to be exact. And drawing a little shine circle there. Because I don't know if I'm going to color this or not. But for now, I just drew a little circle there for the shine of the reflection of light, and then just coloring in the pupil. Might put a dark shade in there for the mouth, and then just some tonal lines there. Now let's put in some detail in here, bits and pieces. But for now, I'm just putting a little details for the feet. Now that I'm a bit more relaxed. My recommendation would be to just kind of get into a little bit of a zen. So draw your big lines that don't require too much precision. Get into the flow of things. Relax yourself. Maybe even do like a little warm-up drawing before you start inking. And then you're less likely to make too many mistakes afterwards, and then you can kind of be sort of warmed up and ready to do your thing. I think the audio or microphone for this is recording from my Surface Pro. I'm not sure where the microphone is in relation to the fan, but I think hopefully the microphone isn't next to the fan. Because, yeah, that's going to get in the way of recording things if you're going to record things with a noisy fan in the way. But I think it's okay. I'll do more details on this part later, but for now, it's not too bad. I'll put some of these little lines in there. I'll put some lines there. They're just little impressions. I put these little impression lines for little impression of details and maybe some little random scales. But because it's a cartoon, you don't have to rely too much on detail. Just putting some little dots here and there. And I might do some tummy scales lightly. Maybe some little random scales. But because it's a cartoon, you don't have to rely too much on detail. And just putting some little dots here and there. And I might do some tummy scales lightly. No, so I wasn't actually saying anything just then. I find it's a lot easier for me to just do it without explaining it first and then explain it after. So I just put very light pressure, like I was just barely touching the page with the pen, and that gives me a very light line. If you wanted a line that's thinner than 0.5 or 0.1, I should say. So like around here, it wouldn't necessarily, probably wouldn't work as easily, but yeah. And what I'm doing here is I'm just coloring in most of the claw, but with just with a slither done. So like, I'll do it here, maybe. Yeah, I'll do it here. So I draw a little line for where I want the shine to be, and then I just color in the rest. That's how I do it. There's probably other ways of doing it, probably better ways of doing it, but that's just how I do it when I want to draw shines on claws and have them nice and black. I don't like that claw as much as the others, but that's okay. Okay, you're probably noticing now that I'm putting an extra layer of ink another layer of lines in between these little parts, just to add in a little bit of definition and the illusion of tapering. I might draw some little circles along here, some little circles along there for the back and such, and something like that. That's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. Just going to refine and make that. Actually, yeah, I can do that now. I'm just going to go through and now make some of my lines a little bit thicker, just to give the impression of tapering. So if you're not good with brushes and you want to ink and have that tapering effect, just draw the lines a little bit thicker. So just draw over your lines a little bit, maybe bring the nib out a little bit more, and that's how you can kind of get a tapering vibe. And here I'm drawing in some shadows for underneath the jaw. And drawing in a little bit of shadow there. A little bit of shadow there. Making the ankle or heel a little bit thicker. A little bit more there. Don't know if I'm gonna. I know I did it just there. I don't know if I'm gonna do too much cross hatching. Maybe just some very, very basic cross hatching. Don't really need to worry about too much though, I don't think. Quite happy without it. Just gonna make the bottom of the tail a little bit thicker and the bottom of the stomach a little thicker. Not too much, just a little bit. Maybe put a little bit of thickness there. Looking back, yeah, pretty good. Alright, I'm just gonna put in some shadow under the tongue. And I know a lot of you like my cute cartoon versions, so that's why I felt like I was in the mood to do some cartoon ones, because I've been doing a lot of serious dinosaurs in among my Pokemoning. I do have to get around to doing some more Pokemon, but just not in the mood for it right now. I'm in the mood for dinosaurs. Just adding some little details here and there. Little lines, and might put some cross-hatching lightly in there just to give it a bit of a shadowy vibe. Just, you know, so it's a bit of a grey shadow. Moving back now, taking it in, seeing if there's anything I need to add. Maybe I'll put in a few little lines there, just like little detail lines, maybe a little bit of a line there. And I'm sure when I'm drawing everything else, I'll see other things that need being done. Actually, I'm just gonna do that. The other annoying thing is once I erase all the pencil lines, I'm still gonna have the, like, it's not gonna look quite as nice, I don't think, because you're still gonna have these light lead markings in there. And I actually kind of like that lead in there. I think the lead kind of, I don't know, It adds a little something in there, so I'm just going to leave that lead there for now. But that's the T-Rex done. The next one, I think I'm going to do Blue the Velociraptor. I still have a bit of time to do one more dinosaur. I'll probably leave Indominus Rex for later. Okay, it's time to do Blue. I'm going to draw in little shoulders. Yeah, this is super close up. So I've got one claw, two claws. Hopefully my focus doesn't go out of whack because of how close we are. I'm drawing in these little tiny finger claws. Little claws. Forearms. And yeah, we'll draw the claws here. The good thing about doing the ink part of this now is it kind of looks like quite a mess with all the pencil. But hopefully, once I have the ink over the top of it, all that chaos in the lead will make more sense. Because it makes sense to me, but it won't make sense at the moment to you, the viewer, until I do final lines. Getting right up in there. So there's a bit of a claw. Do one leg. The big sickle claw. Do this leg and draw that claw as well. That's the padding for the sickle toe, I guess you'd call it. Maybe put a little bit of detail in there, but we're not don't have much room for detail, to be honest. Gonna draw in or color in that bit of black. Drawing in those claws for the toes. Draw some little light scales for the toes. And you get to see really close up. Get to see right up close this nib doing its thing. So there's one claw. Let's just color in these claws. Leaving a very slight bit of paper through for the shine in the claw. I'll probably leave that one because there's not much room to work with there. And work on that claw, and then that toe is being hidden by T-Rex. So I'm just going to put those claws like so. I really hope you can hear what I'm actually saying, because that fan is quite loud on my Surface Pro. So there we go. Draw the stomach, the neck, the arm, shoulder goes there. So there's a little bit of arm. I'll do the eye. Little slit for the eye. Blue's shape and stripe going down her head. The eyebrow, her snout ridge going into a very tiny little snout. And going like that. It doesn't look hugely like a Velociraptor, but you know, it's very tiny. So it's tiny and it's a cartoon, so we're not focusing too much on whether it looks exactly like a Velociraptor from Jurassic World. It does have a bit more of a traditional Velociraptor snout though. I should probably put some feathers along its neck, but Blue doesn't have them feathers. Draw in some teeth. Draw the bottom of that mouth and then draw those teeth. The tongue. The membrane between the mouth and the bottom mouth and the top mouth. Draw those last little teeth. These teeth. Do some shadow in there. Oh, oh, oh. We have, Houston, we have a problem. Ah, I can actually hear it in, I can hear the focus trying to do its thing in the camera. Stay. Good focus. Okay. So at least I can tell this close up if the focus is changing or not. And you can probably say there, I messed up. You wouldn't have seen that so wide out, but because we're so zoomed in. Also, just for the record, I'm using a Logitech C920, so this gives you an idea of how close you can get with the zoom. Just if you're wondering about the technology, because I don't think you'd be able to do this with a standard video camera or even an SLR, because a lot of people use SLRs and that to film their YouTube videos, but you probably wouldn't be able to do this without a macro lens. The Logitech C920 can do all of that. Now I'm just going to put in a little bit of detail in the arms, putting a little bit of shadow, like I did with T-Rex. And little, very light details there. Get the tail done. Oh, messed up slightly. Oh well. We'll live. Please don't give me a thumbs down because of that. Okay, just, do we have enough room for the, we do. That was incredibly light. I was barely touching the page there. Gonna put in some cross-hatching for inside her mouth. Some cross-hatching there. That's not too bad. I'm just gonna put in some shadow underneath it too. Just refining it up a bit. That's not too bad. I'll just put a little bit of shadow underneath her feet. And that could be a video right there. Alright. That was drawing Blue, the Velociraptor, in ink. Very, very zoomed in. If you like this video, or this part of the video anyway, because this is just part of a, as you can see, I've already drawn T-Rex. I'm about to draw Indominus Rex, but I wanted to get a little in there close up with Velociraptor. But if I put this as its own video, give this a like if you liked it, and stay tuned for part whatever ends up being the next part, which will be Indominus Rex. So, if you want to see me draw Indominus Rex, stay tuned, because she's coming up. But until then, thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you next time. Cheerio for now.